Fear Not, Episode 117. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today you and I are going to be joined by Chara Ashunya. Welcome, Shunya. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. Are you ready to fear not today?
I am always ready not to fear.
Excellent. Shunya is one of the extraordinary teachers of the living embodied wisdom of Ayurveda. She transmits it through the roots of her ancient family lineage, as well as throughout her book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom. She is the driving force behind Vedika Global, a wisdom school dedicated to awakening health and consciousness. She was also recognized as one of the top 100 teachers of Ayurveda and yoga in America by Spirituality and Health magazine. Shunya is the president of the California Association of Ayurvedic Medicine, a keynote speaker at national and international conferences, and she teaches at California Institute of Integral Studies, as well as complementary medicine symposiums at Stanford, UCLA, and UCSF. Shunya, can you take a few extra moments to fill in any gaps and maybe also give us a brief glimpse of your personal life?
I think the biggest part about my personal life is that I have been touched and transformed by a great body of wisdom, Billy. And this wisdom, Ayurveda, is from ancient India. And it literally refers to a health and healing modality from India, which is a sister science of yoga, which is better known. And this system of health and healing, Ayurveda, teaches us how to live. Literally, this word means the wisdom of life. It's a perennial wisdom. And it teaches us how to sleep, how to wake up, how to eat, when to eat, what is the right season to do what activity. It really brings us in a very conscious and mindful alignment with nature's chronobiological rhythms. And as a result of this lifelong affair with Ayurveda, Billy, I was able to overcome a genetic condition, an immunological disorder that causes a lot of pain, inflammation, and even puts people in wheelchairs or the obligation of having to go through multiple surgeries. But I am walking, I am running, I'm leading my full life. And as an educator and as a teacher of teachers and doctors of Ayurveda, I am, facilitating this wisdom to spread far and wide and change more lives. So probably my personal life is really just a narrative of how this knowledge has touched me and what I do as a result of it, which is to teach and to help others.
Shunya, would you also share with us today one of the biggest fears that you've had to face?
I think one of the biggest fears that I've had is owning my own voice. From a very young age, I was very fortunate to have apprenticed and studied with a famous spiritual healer and teacher and a yogi who I affectionately call Baba. Because he was also my grandfather, and Baba means, a beloved elder, and that's a word in my language. And Baba always taught me to believe in my deepest self. From a very young age, we had very profound conversations on the nature of existence and life. So, as a result, as I was growing up, Billy, I had opinions, I had ideas about life, and I felt different from the rest of the world, but I was afraid to voice them and I would join the others. So, I didn't really own my inner light, if I can say so. And then as I took the world stage in teaching and leading, and I'm quite prominent in my own field. I mean, it's a very subjective criteria, but yeah, I do get invited to important platforms to contribute, I always have a part of me that wants to hide and blend in. And then I have to check that and say, enough. And then I have to fiercely be my own self. So it's an ongoing challenge, but it's getting less and less bothersome.
So, what do you do to handle that and to get beyond that sort of negative situation when it approaches?
I think knowledge sets us free. So the very knowledge that I have an imperative to be true to myself and that I have a playful challenge from within. I don't see it as a big tragic fight. I see it more like play. I see that my shadow self is really my friend that's egging me on. That's how I've seen it now. So I'm at peace with both parts of me. I'm not conflicted and seriously in a Freudian situation here. But I see that my shadow self is happy to be comfortable, happy to blend in, happy to be a people pleaser, happy to be, just who'd like to talk about harmony to the point of self devastation. And I know that that's just an aspect of me because she's going to be there unless I choose self growth. And I choose self growth and I choose to be true to myself. I might be not so popular. I might have an opinion that goes against the world, but I might be somebody who, so I tell myself there are people who follow religions, there are people who start religions, there are people who follow political parties, there are people who start them, and I'm just going to be one of those who start things. And now, in the last 2 decades, I've been more and more pleased with myself that I've really done things that are original. I speak things that are only between me and my spirit. We know them, and it feels good. So the only thing I do is I stay mindful about it. I don't fall asleep to it. And I also, uh, by choice, do not weave this into a tragic scenario like a personality conflict. I see it as a spiritual challenge, if I may say so. That helps. It really helps.
So, just to make sure that I understand, you use your shadow self as an indicator to go, to change your thoughts in your direction, in the opposite direction. It's sort of a warning light, if you will, or is that?
Yeah, warning is one word, or I could say that I have become familiar with my shadow self like a scientist. And I know what she invites me and seduces me to do. And I know why she does it because she's born out of, survival that we all human animals want in terms of in terms of being safe in the society, and not upsetting any norms that we should be or any precedents, not questioning them. So when my shadow self talks to me or suggests me a thought or an idea, I'm able to recognize that's my adaptive self. She's just adapted to the world and the situation and the family. She's not my authentic self. And then I have to pause and I have to wonder what would my authentic self do if I didn't have fear at this moment? What would be my choice? And literally, I'm so pleased to be on your show because for me, um, taking choices from, say, hypothetically, I didn't have fear, what would be the thing I do? And usually the solution would be right there. Well, this is what you would have done if you didn't have fear. And then this is what I do. I force myself into those uncomfortable spaces. And then what follows is only comfort and happiness and bliss. So I guess there is some part of me that is not caught up by my shadow. And that part of me is driving my car, not my shadow. And the first 2 decades of my life, I'm 50, for maybe first 2.5 decades of my life until I was 25 or 28, even 30 maybe, my shadow self wanted to keep jumping in front and drive the car, or she'd wrestle with me a lot. And I've had, different experiences that have been very, very, very educational, I would say.
Shunya, you must have come across some really amazing resources to help you get to the point where you at this, sort of consciousness and how you handle your fears. Would you mind sharing some of those with us today?
I think my biggest resource has been this Eastern wisdom of Ayurveda, which teaches us that we are not really different from nature. And nature, if you notice, Billy, has a lot of ease. And it has a lot of ease around what is ripening and blooming and what is dropping and decaying and what is transforming. So, I've started embodying that my body and mind will undergo change and my spirit will have stillness. And that has helped me. So I don't try to create a virtual reality around my being. Another science that has helped me is yoga, Billy, where yoga is literally yoga, the word, Sanskrit word comes from yuj, which means a union or a coming together. And a coming together of what? The coming together of the adaptive self with the authentic self, with the individual with the supreme collective, with the personal with the universal. So, yoga as a subject of study has given me innumerable insights into how I may appear to be an individual, but I'm really it's really just a thought away, the collective, the universal aspect of me. So my consciousness has grown because of yoga, and I'm talking about yoga that goes beyond the body postures and the exercise and the breathing, which are all helpful in calming the mind, but it's really the contemplations that come from the science of yoga, which support the science of Ayurveda. And finally, the tool that has maximally impacted me is another sister science, which I promote at my school and foundation and I teach about, which is known as Vedanta. And Vedanta literally means the end of knowledge. What does that mean? Where knowledge that we acquire ends and where knowledge that gets revealed from within begins. And according to this science, each one of us is already a light being. We are already beyond fear. We are already, empowered, fearless, complete, whole beings. We've only forgotten. And that if we start behaving in a more empowered way, we shall find that we are empowered because we're that. We're already that, for example. So it ended some of my quest, and I gave myself permission to be more empowered, more at ease, more at peace in every transaction of my life. So, having bodies of wisdom, which are thousands of years old, which are not part of a religious mandate, which are not meant for one kind of people, Billy, or who worship a certain way, which are universal, which have shown their benefits to people from all over the world, they have come in handy to me, along with, of course, having a personal teacher. And when I use the word guru, I speak it not from a place of a fear of a certain person, but a person who's just like you, another human being who's walked a few steps ahead of you. And I remember Baba sharing with me how he had fear because he had grown when he was 9 months old, he lost his mom. So he grew with some fears and how he overcame them, and how there is your authentic self waiting for you beyond the fear. So, having a guru or having a mentor, having these sciences, and having my crazy mind, my shadow self, play with me, all of these have been tools. So, the life has been a laboratory, all right, Billy. And I love talking about this to you. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thank you for sharing all that. Are you ready for the speed run?
Absolutely.
What individual, whether they be fiction or real, has made the most impact on your life?
I've already talked about Baba, my guru, who made the maximum impact on me. But one of the personalities that we all know about is, Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela's life, it just keeps inspiring me beyond description. And in his inauguration speech, he had said that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. So then he goes on to say, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I feel this is my life because that's what I had told myself. And now that I am treading fearless waters every moment, every day, I know that I have a whole community of students who are following me and my example. So Nelson Mandela is my hero.
If you could instantly change one thing in the world, what would you change?
I would take away this fear of isolation and loneliness and doggy dog world, every man for himself thought in every being's mind. We would all know that we are one. The oneness is playing itself through different body forms, through these bodies which have different colors or different orientations of God or religion, but really we will all experience oneness. And not only amongst humans, but if we look at the eyes of an animal, even a tiny little caterpillar, we will see ourselves. So I want to take away the sense of separation.
What's your biggest weakness?
Sweets. I love sweets. Um, I had bigger weaknesses that I have discussed earlier. Currently, my weakness is sweets, and I'm having a new fearless relationship with it. So I'm beginning to enjoy them, but not get damaged around them.
What's your biggest strength?
My ability to connect with wisdom traditions and contemplate upon them, practice them in bits and pieces, have aha moments, and then internalize them. My go to tendency is to go towards ancient bodies of wisdom and live them. So I'm a self soothing, self caring, and self empowering being. My ability to take care of my own shadow self is my biggest strength.
If you could only have one book to read, what book would that be?
Oh boy. You're asking this question with somebody who has 1,000 books in just a tiny room right now as I'm talking to you. I love, love, love books. But I would say there is a book called the Bhagavad Gita from the Indian tradition, and it is a book of wisdom. It is not just a book for Hindus, though Hindus find it deeply reverential. But the Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses in it, and it's been translated in every language of the world. I thought there'd be one language I wouldn't find it in. I haven't found a single language in which Bhagavad Gita has not been translated. And each of those 700 verse, even one verse, changes the paradigm of our mind and destroys fear and makes us powerful beings. Every night I open the Bhagavad Gita and I might read one verse and I will go to bed feeling like, I don't know, I've changed my galaxy or something. Full of wisdom, beauty, and compassion. That's my favorite book.
Do you have a favorite sound?
You're talking to a Vedic master, and my favorite sound is Om. And Om should be described here. This sound, it's a sound, it's not a word. And it's a sound of, according to the Vedic Eastern tradition, a primordial vibration that preceded all form. And if the form were all to dissolve, the universe collapse, there would still be this vibration. And that there has been research done in important universities all over the world, which is showing that when Om is chanted, it has an effect upon our neurons. And, there is a resetting of our brain chemistry. So that's definitely my favorite sound, Billy.
Shunya, if someone would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I can be found if people just looked up my name, Acharya Shunya, ACHARYASHUNYA. You will find my website, acharyashunya.com. I'm also on social media, all kinds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, with my name, Acharya Shunya. And I hope that our listeners would connect with me and we'll go from there.
What parting advice would you like to leave with us today?
Ah, I would just like to say to them that fear is not our true nature, but fear is definitely around us. It's like a game, and they should really explore what it may possibly be if they were fearless in this moment. How would they behave? How would they live? And just begin living that way, and everything else will take care of itself.
Something to consider. Thank you. Shunya, I want to also thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a real pleasure meeting you and just having you speak. And I really hope you come back on one day and speak some more.
Thank you, Billy. You're such a deep listener. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.